Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin." Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. The Dennis, Dylan, and W.
Welcome to the Run TMC podcast. That is the Run Marin County podcast, a podcast about basketball based in lovely Marin County, California. I am Duffy Ballard, and I'm talking at you on November 3rd, the first official day of the high school basketball season here in California. An exciting day for coaches and players and parents too, as kids gear up for tryouts, put on the gym shorts, lace up the sneakers, get ready to get on the floor, show some grit, sweat a little bit, and put the ball in the hoop. This is episode 3 of season 3 of the Run TMC podcast, and it features a roundtable discussion with some coaching luminaries of Marin County. I'm going to have my co-host and friend, Katie Levine, tell you more about that in one moment. But first, a word from our sponsors. The Run TMC podcast is brought to you by Encore Custom. Encore Custom, from the field to the gym and everywhere in between. Encore Custom designs high-performance team apparel built for athletes, coaches, and active communities. Each piece is crafted with technical precision, modern fits, and customizable details that bring your team identity to life. You can shop their ready-to-wear performance gear online or in-store, or create custom designs made exclusively for your team. Visit EncoreCustom.com, that is EncoreCustom.com, or stop by their headquarters at 891 4th Street in lovely San Rafael, California, to see where performance meets design. The Run TMC podcast is also brought to you by the Nike basketball camps at San Domenico School in lovely Sleepy Hollow, California. Director Jeff Skaggs has been bringing you the basketball camps at San Domenico School for over a quarter century, and they're back this fall for 3 select dates in November and 2 in December for ages 6 to 14 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can go to ussportscamps.com and look up San Domenico Nike basketball camps for more information. And they'll be back again next summer.
Thank you, Duff. Dave Levine here, everybody. Hello. Really fun conversation that we're excited to share. Duffy and I, in the off season, as we were getting ready for season 3, we, meaning Duffy, had the idea of let's have some roundtable discussions. Let's get a group of our friends together, basketball minds, and sit down and kind of shoot the breeze over maybe a beer or two and just talk hoop. And that's what we did. We were gathered yesterday, Sunday afternoon, day before the season starts. We gathered in the afternoon at the Hub in San Anselmo, one of our favorite places in Marin, one of our first sponsors, and a very important business that gave us the confidence that, hey, some people were actually going to listen to this podcast. So Jerry and Rebecca and the Hub, very special place in our hearts. So we sat outside at the Hub, and we were joined by 4 of our favorite people, 4 incredible coaches, players, humans, and just basketball minds. So we had Caden Korst, KK, the head coach at Branson, the girls varsity coach at Branson. I'm actually her assistant coach, so KK and I coach together, and it's been super fun for me to be around her. We're very excited to get the season started. As many of you know, KK won the state last year as the head coach of the Marin Catholic girls varsity team. In her first year as a head coach, she's one of the best young coaches in the country. She's got an amazing future ahead of her, and she's just very thoughtful about the game of basketball and is very fun to listen to. Across from KK was the great Tom Poser, no stranger to our listeners. Tom has been on the podcast a couple times, one of our first guests. By the way, all these people are former guests of the Run TMC pod. Tom is a phenomenal coach. He's an amazing motivator and leader. Hands down the best teacher of footwork that I've seen, and I think colleges, even pro teams, would benefit having Tom come in and just work with them on footwork, jump stops, pivots, being strong with the ball. The stuff that we harp on as coaches, Tom is a master at that stuff. And he's also just really fun to listen to and is not short on opinions. And this conversation was no exception. Tom was awesome. He brought it, the energy, asked great questions himself, and was a key contributor to the culture of the discussion. Next to Tom was Tony Butler, our good friend Tony. Tony's an amazing coach and has had a huge impact on Marin athletics in his decades as a teacher and coach. Tony has coached multiple sports, but last couple decades he's coached basketball, both boys and girls. He was the boys coach at San Rafael High for several years, where he's still a teacher. He also coached at Marin Academy back in the day, but in the last couple years he's been the head girls varsity coach at San Marin. They're always good. They always play hard. They're always a tough team to battle against because Tony just gets those kids to buy in and play hard. And Tony has actually started his own business. He's an entrepreneur. It's called All Net Mindset Training. It's a great product that he offers. It's essentially tools for athletes and coaches alike to handle the mental aspect of athletics and performance. And our Branson girls team we are a client of Tony's All Net business, and I can't recommend it enough to anybody. So we actually talk about some of Tony's ideas and tools and methods in this conversation today. It was very fun. Tony's great. And then finally, we had Dave Dineen. Dave is one of a kind, was one of our first guests on the podcast way back early in season 1. When we started this Run TMC idea, Dave was on a short list of people we wanted to get just because he's so entertaining. He's absolutely hilarious. He's very thoughtful. And he has a great story. You know, Dave was a really good high school basketball player at San Rafael High, played for Brett Tavani. But Dave will be the first to tell you he's not an athlete. He's not tall. He's not strong. He's not fast. He can't jump. But he just made himself into a player. And he went from being a skinny kid kind of on the end of the bench in CYO to being all league at San Rafael High. He played at Santa Rosa Junior College, where he had to try out and make the team. And then he ended up getting a walk-on role at Cal Poly and earned himself a scholarship and was a Division I basketball player. So Dave is a great observer of the game. He's a basketball historian. He's an absolute basketball nerd and one of my favorite people to talk hoop with. So he was a great contributor to this discussion. And then you had me and Duffy kind of asking questions. Duffy was handing out beers and facilitating the proceedings. This was Duffy's idea. As I said, he is the lifeblood of this podcast. And I was just there kind of throwing out ideas and questions and facilitating the discussion. So hope you enjoy it. We had a great time. We've already discussed doing this again, both having some of these people back again or all of them back again, maybe in different combinations. But we're going to have current MCAL players join us for one of these future ones. We're going to have more coaches and more of our friends come and participate in these roundtable discussions because we think they're a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. And Duffy, back to you, my friend.
Thank you, Dave, and great introduction to our roundtable. It does remain, in my mind, somewhat debatable whose idea this was. I believe that you might have floated something about a roundtable a couple months ago, and I might have taken that idea and run with it. And then we got a great group together for our seminal roundtable discussion. And as you mentioned, Dave, we are planning more. It's a great way to bring together a number of thought leaders in one spot and just break down the sport of basketball. And also, for me, it's an opportunity to stand in the background and learn a lot and then go and grab some beverages for the group. So a win across the board, Dave. So for this episode, it was a very long interview. We probably could have gone for another couple hours or at least until closing time at the hub. We're going to break it up into 2 separate episodes. So you will get the first 44 minutes or so of the discussion today. And one of the reasons we're doing that, Dave, and this is very exciting, is for the first time, we are also posting the video of our conversation up on the YouTube. So we will put the link in the show notes up for YouTube. And because the video posting is a work in progress, what I have discovered, Dave, is that I cannot post more than, let's say, about 47 minutes and 46 seconds worth of video up on YouTube. So
we have truncated to about 45 minutes, and then we will edit and re-release the rest of it very soon, probably end of the week, Dave. And let us know what you think of the YouTube approach. You'll be able to also connect to the podcast directly. And we look forward to maybe not doing this for every episode, but at least for ones where we get a group together that we grab some video. You can see the minds in action, and you can see Tom Poser being slightly distracted some of the time. There was a little bit of phone time during the interview. I'm not going to lie, but we'll allow it because otherwise it was a great discussion. So, Dave, before we get to the roundtable, just a couple notes. Simitri TT Carr played his first game with Cal last night, and we had a couple friends that were there at the game. Scott Cheeks, as we call him, and also Jeff Skaggs. TT played 12 minutes, had a couple boards, and from what we heard, looked like he belonged out there. So that's great. Maybe had a little bit of a scare with landing awkwardly on the knee. So we hope he's okay and gets back out there. Scottie Pippen, also in attendance last night for that Cal and Cal State Bakersfield game. Also, congratulations to all of those who were honored this past weekend at the Marin Athletic Foundation Hall of Fame dinner that was hosted by friend of the podcast, Dan Dibley, and in particular to Coach Mike Saya, who we heard gave a quote-unquote masterclass in public speaking in his remarks there. So congrats to Coach Saya. Also congrats to all those who were inducted in the Archie Williams Hall of Fame ceremony, which was at the end of September. And anyway, it's great to see some of these legends of Marin County recognized in various ways. And Dave, who knows, maybe one of these days, maybe just one of these days, we'll get an invite for an MC opportunity at one of these dinners. Okay, so Dave, we're going to roll into the roundtable. We're going to have a break at some point for some additional words from our sponsors. And then we'll have part 2 of the interview coming your way very soon. Thank you all for supporting this podcast and for supporting basketball here in Marin County and beyond.
All right. I'm going to do Duffy's part. Welcome to the Run TMC podcast. We are live at the Hub. This is a first for us. We are doing a live roundtable with a esteemed crew of basketball friends. None of these people will be new to our listeners because they've all been guests on Run TMC at some point. Some of them multiple time guests. Some just single, so this is their second time. I'm going to have our esteemed roundtable go around the table and introduce themselves. We're sitting outside at the Hub in San Anselmo, our favorite place, one of our first sponsors. We're drinking beers, having some cheese fries, or at least Tony Butler's having cheese fries. We're going to introduce ourselves briefly. And I'm going to start with, let's go most recent state champions first. So that would be our friend over in the corner.
Hello, I'm Kaden Korst. Most know me by KK. Happy to be back on the podcast. Oh, I'm at Branson. Did you just stop it?
No.
Oh, I thought I messed up already.
No, you didn't mess up. What's your name?
I'm now the varsity coach at Branson, coaching with Dave, and we're excited for tryouts tomorrow.
Excellent. All right, Tom, you go next.
Hello, I am Tom. Excuse me.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Crushed it.
Tom Poser. I went to Archie Williams Drake High School in '94, and I am a assistant coach at Redwood Varsity Boys right now. And I have 3 kids in high school, all of which hope to play basketball this year.
Fantastic. I'd like to make a correction. This is a rectangle, not a round table.
It's a rectangle table?
Yeah. Coach Tony Butler here. I am the head varsity girls coach at San Marin High School. I was the former coach at San Rafael, coach boys at that time. I too am a Archie Williams Drake High School graduate. I preceded Mr. Poser, paved the way, and I'm looking forward to a good season. Let's do this.
Hello, David Dineen. Graduated from Centerville High School in 1990. I currently work at the University of Nevada, Reno. And as I look to my left here, Dave, there's a very good chance I've known you for 40 years. I just realized that Pirate Camp's probably 85, 86.
Yeah, for sure.
That's 40 years.
Yeah. You look exactly the same.
Yeah, as do you.
Yeah, so you looked like you were 56 when you were 14.
I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the invite.
Awesome. And then Duffy Ballard is here. Duffy, why don't you say a little something?
Duffy here.
Wax poetic for our listeners, Duffy.
Dave, you're in control. I'm going to get beers. If anyone needs anything, fries, bacon, burger, just, wave me down. And have fun, guys and gals.
Thank you.
And coaches and soon-to-be coaches.
That's right.
Just let it flow.
Awesome. Thanks, Duffy. So we wanted to have a free-flowing discussion at this, thank you, Tony, a rectangular table about a variety of topics. And we thought it would be fun to just get some thought leaders, some amazing basketball minds together. We're going to do this multiple times this season with different groups. We're doing this on Sunday, November 2nd. The first day of high school practice in the CIF is tomorrow, Monday, November 3rd. So we have 2 head coaches here. We have KK and Tony. We have 3 assistant coaches, me, Duffy, and Tom. And then we have Dave Dineen, who's just a lifetime of basketball nerddom, a huge fan of the college game, played college basketball. So I thought it would be fun to start with, how do you approach the first week of practice? Tryouts, you've been thinking about the season, obviously. You got your kids ready. Hopefully they're in shape. How are we approaching that first week of the season? And I'm going to pick on Tony Butler with his cheese fries. Go, Tony.
Ooh, okay. Well, in my program, we don't disconnect a whole lot over a calendar year. So the expectation is that we are at least in touch and communicate throughout the year. Most of my girls play multiple sports, and that's awesome. Huge proponent of playing multiple sports. But we do play in the summer. Expectation is that girls come back to the program to play from June into sometimes early July. We run a week's worth of camp. All my girls volunteer and run a camp. We get about 80 girls camp. Huge resource for our program, not only financially, but just connecting with our community. So that's a big deal for us. And so the girls come back for that. And then in the fall, girls will either gravitate towards their fall sports or they will come to open gyms and play. We do have a all San Marin club basketball team that plays in the fall, stays connected. And so this first week of practice for the varsity girls, I mean, technically it's tryouts. They do have to show up and try out, but we do hit the ground running at a little probably faster pace than some programs because we've been together as a group around the calendar. So that was always a goal of mine, to make sure that we weren't starting back at, from scratch every year, even if we do have new players. And we do have new players this year. And only have 5 returners. And so,
how are you approaching tryouts? Do you go in thinking, all right, we want to have 12 kids on the roster, 15 kids on the roster, or like what's your mindset as you approach tryouts? I know we all have probably a pretty decent sense of who the players are, but I'm just curious how you're approaching that.
Yeah, well, a lot of that depends on the numbers. Never ideal to cut kids.
Yeah.
But I've changed my approach. I used to want to keep 15 every year, and I found that it just wasn't really good for the program, good for at least at the varsity level. The lower level, I think you should keep as many as you can keep. And, as you trickle down to each level, I think you want freshmen to play as much as possible. You want to share playing time. JV, maybe tighten it up a little, but still play a lot of individuals. And then varsity, that's a different animal. I've kind of settled on the number 12 as a really good number. I like the even side of it. That way, if you're doing partner work, things like that, it works out better. And then if somebody goes down, and inevitably someone will get sick or go down during the season, usually multiple players, you have enough to be able to continue going 5-on-5 without having to pick someone off your lower level team to play. That being said, it looks like this year we're be lucky to have 11. So
we'll get to that. We'll get to the state.
11 is a good number.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good number.
Perfect.
Tom, you're an assistant coach, but you're also your happy place is being in the gym, working with kids, leading practices. You're amazing at it. So
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the last compliment I'm going to give you. So how are you approaching leading up? Why don't you talk about leading up to the season? Because you've been running some practices along with Jay. And now into the first week, what are you doing?
Sure. I've been super distracted in fall ball because my kids are playing water polo, and I'm committed to being in as many of those games as I can. So I have not seen a single fall ball basketball game that Redwood varsity has played, but I have been running practices, fall ball practices. And what I gravitate towards, it won't surprise you, it's fundamentals. And I was just talking about this last night at the Hall of Fame dinner, where I was an attendee along with Dave Dineen, and explaining just how almost everything I do started with and comes from Pirate Camp, which is now Falcon Camp, which we all went to back in the good old days. And the subject matter was important last night because Mike Sy was going in, and he was a big part of Pirate Camp. And then all these guys were there. Pete Hayward was there. Mike Fulton was there. Jimmy Sy was there. Steve Spencer was there. So all my childhood heroes were in attendance last night. It was really fun. And so I got time during people's speeches that I didn't know. Like, there was a super sharp woman who was a softball player who gave a great speech, but I was sort of thinking about practice at the time and everything we're doing: V-cuts, reverse pivots, jump stops, land on 2 feet, pivot, land on 2 feet, one dribble attack, land on 2 feet, pass. That's really what I've been focusing on, is skill development. I think I'm not great with X's and O's, so I've been really focused on that kind of stuff. And then going into the season, I don't know. I will be at tryouts this week, but my plan is to stay as far away as possible from making decisions about rosters. That's not my job. Thankfully, intentionally not my job. I don't want that job. I've done that, of course. And so I hope during all these tryouts to be whistle guy and drill guy and run them through all the different things, and then let Jay and Jeff have conversations on the sideline about who should make it, what strengths and weaknesses are. Personally, I disagree with a number of people. If I was running a high school program, I might take 16 as Tony scoffs.
Bucky Chavez.
What if you were coaching girls? Would
There's
that
so many
number stay?
factors. If the focus is skill development, I like 4-on-4-on-2 half courts. I like being able to run 3-on-2 continuous where you have 8 on a side.
Yeah.
I like playing cutthroat 4-4-4-4, where I can throw people off quick and get them back on. But I think the counter to that is that you really, the point is you're improving your best players, the players that are going to play. You want to give everyone a shot, but the best players are going to play. So if the goal is to maximize their development and preparation for the season, you want them going against the next best players as often as possible, not like the third next best players. So the problem with 16 is often in practice, you have to tell 4 kids to sit down. That becomes a little weird or insulting. So luckily, it's not my choice.
I think that part of those decisions come down to the spectrum of talent within the group you're choosing from, right? Like keeping 16 just to keep 16 is different than, like, 16 guys at Redwood looks different than 16 guys at some other places, right? So that spectrum of talent, so those back 4 that are coming into practice at Redwood, I would argue, are helping your best players get better. At some schools, they would not, in fact, be helping you get better.
Not additive.
Yeah.
So to Kick, I want to get to you, Tom, talking about playing off 2 feet, fundamentals, pivots. Discuss how you're approaching the first week of practice with a new team with a lot of young players. It's a loaded question. Go ahead.
Yeah, that is. It's been interesting. It's been fun. It's been good. I think you've been around, so you know we've got like 8 or 9 kids that are fully bought in. And a couple kids that I'm sure will be. They've just got fall sports or whatnot, which is great, and we support that. So this tryout, we're really trying to find our 12 best kids. If the cutoff is 14, then it's 14. If it's 11, it's 11. And I'm not against taking 10. So I'm a big believer in that, especially for girls. There's like often a very weak link, and you don't want that. I don't want that. Like last year at MCI I had 11, and it was just perfect. Like everybody knew their role, knew their spot. It was a small team. We could fit into one van. We were just so connected. And I think that's so valuable for girls, because if you get a team of 16, these girls will be able to create 4 or 5 clicks. If you have a team of 10, the most clicks you can connect, like they can have, is probably 2. So least clicks, better.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds silly, but 16 guys, I feel like they can all be kind of like have like this bromance, like big squad, and, you know, dab each other up and be bros. But girls, if you add more than 11 different personalities, it could get really ugly.
Well,
You sent me the text this week that said, what was it? Guys need to play well to feel good, and girls need to feel good to play well.
Yep.
Yep.
And roster construction plays a big part.
It's
of that.
huge.
Yeah.
And also, I think, like what we're going to go through this week, and I think everywhere there's probably 5, 6, 7 kids that could be on varsity, probably be on JV, but you want to choose program kids. Like, again, Redwood boys team, I know the MC boys team, just because I was around them last year, they might play 12 kids this year. And girls basketball, that just doesn't really happen. Well, Redwood's probably the best team in the league, and I would say they're 7 or 8 deep. Maybe 7. So it's really important to fill the back end of the roster with kids that just great kids, energy givers, happy to be there, excited to learn, and they bring something other than minutes, because they won't bring minutes.
Well, it's an interesting balance to strike, and I'm going to get to you now, Dave Dineen, because you were a guy who you were used to trying out and earning your spot and not being given anything, right? And I can example my San Domenico team last year. We had 11 or 12 on the roster technically, but I had some kids who were injured. I had one kid who was injured all year, so we very seldom had 10 at practice. So sometimes I was needing to drag my, at that time, 49-year-old butt out to the court and play so we could play 5-on-5.
You were 50. Let's make that
whatever. I was 49 and 15/13ths. But to be able to play 5-on-5 is actually really important. Just like we could do all the greatest 2-on-2, 3-on-3 drills. I love doing small-sided games. But at some point, you need to give your kids a simulated 5-on-5 environment, because that's what they're going to play like in the real games. So you want to have enough numbers where you can have a good 5-on-5 battle, and the bottom end of your roster playing hard and contributing to practice and making the starters better. And Dave Dineen, I'm going to hand it off to you. How did you approach, for example, you walked on at a Division I school, you had to earn your spot. How did you approach that first week of practice where you got to earn your spot?
Yeah, I was just a skinny kid from Marin County who wanted to keep playing basketball, kind of like everybody at this table. And there's a lot of things that go on. If you're a walk-on, you really can't be late. You can't be sick. You can't be hurt. You can't be injured. You're going to get beat up every day in practice. But still to this day, both of my coaches in college, Tom Mitchell at Santa Rosa Junior College and Steve Beeson at Cal Poly SLO, rest in peace, both of them had every chance to cut me, and they probably should have. But if you kind of get along with players and you try and you don't screw up and you're never an issue off the court, you have a chance to make a basketball team. So, Tony and Tom are talking about they don't want to cut people. If you kind of just hang around, things can happen over the course of a college or any basketball season. People get hurt, they get in the doghouse, and things can happen where you just might end up playing. Yeah. And that can be in the 8th grade, 12th grade, wherever. Yeah. So... But my junior college coach definitely should have cut me.
I think listening to Dave talk, I think your high school coach, Coach T, is by far, he was the master.
Brett Tavani.
Shout out to Coach. He's the master of building kids up. And you watch his teams play, he'd play kids in November and December, and you'd say, who the hell is that kid? With no idea who they are. And then in February, they'd be playing major minutes in big time roles at the end of games. And that's really, really hard to do as a coach, because we're still human and we want to win on game nights. And so taking the risks at that point, that can be tough. And Coach T was a master of that. So I'm sure you lived some of that. Do you have guys on your high school team that you guys were surprised played?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like you're saying, Coach Tavani was great, a motivator, and got everybody to get on the same page, which you look at, that's 35 years ago. That's pre-analytics, shot selection, scheduling, all that. But I spent time with him last night, and he's definitely been a mentor for me over the years.
Yeah. So
sorry, if I could just dive in on that roster construction. I haven't built a roster at a high school level, but I imagine it's different. CYO, you have to take only kids from that grade, and you are supposed to take 10. In 4th grade with the class as a current senior, I took 12 because I wanted 12 for practice, but it backfired a little bit because you added everybody minimum time and nobody got enough time. But at the high school level, what I'm seeing is it must be very challenging. I'd be interested to hear what KK and Tony have to say about it, and Dave, you as well. The 15th kid or the 12th kid or whoever it is, that kid is unlikely to play. And if they surprise you, that's a win for everybody. But are you choosing a junior who has some potential over a senior who has some toughness? Do you want a guard to pick up full? Do you want a big boy to hit everybody? Like, what? How do you even make those decisions? Do you just?
I don't care how big they are, how small they are, what position they play. A kid that doesn't complain and has parents behind them that will say, you're doing what the team needs from you, if that's sitting on the bench or what. And you just I guess Brett Devani was this way, but if kids are showing up and giving their max effort and they're good program kids, they deserve an opportunity. Like, I think I played 10 kids in the first quarter of the state championship game last year out of 11. And the 11th was a senior who showed up to everything, great attitude, but she just physically didn't match up. And she knew that, but the other 10, they all knew, like, any night could be any. We had Izzy, we had Cece and Brooke. They were all pretty solid, but any night, Bailey Bresh could just come in and be a force. Neela Ryan could come in and have 10 rebounds. The kid that probably scored 4 points all year. 4 rebounds, or 8 rebounds or whatever, and it's huge. Or Michaela Marston, if Sienna's in foul trouble. Like, those back 4 or 5 kids on the roster were so huge because I don't think it was me. I just think anybody watching knew that they deserved the opportunity to get a chance. And if that game wasn't their chance, they were rooting for that other kid because maybe the next game was their chance. I don't know. If you're showing up and doing what I ask, you deserve an opportunity.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Tom, your Redwood team, I mean, so KK, your MC team last year was a great example of that, which is just an ideal thing for a coach as a coaching example of just always be ready. Right? It was a master class, and you would shuttle kids in and out of games, critical games, packed gyms, high stress situations. And you're bringing in kids who don't get a ton of playing time, but they know, okay, I got to get one stop, or I got to make one play. Duffy's delivering beers. I have to make one stop, and then I can earn, more minutes on the floor, or that's just what the team needs, right? And Tom, I remember some of your Redwood games last year. You guys had a really good team. You obviously had one dominant player, one of the best players in the country, but you had guys who would show up and
Hi, how are you?
Be given an opportunity late in the game.
We have our first fan, Dave.
We have our first fan. We had beers delivery. It's
shockingly, it was KK.
She'll be an all-leaguer in a couple years.
So KK has been carded, and she has a fan. The rest of us are, I don't know why we're here.
Pretty much.
I'm here for cheese fries.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Dave, I understand what you're saying. Redwood, it's an interesting point I think Tony made. Redwood has 2,000 kids, so it changes everything about everything because I would assume, I guess I'll just go historically instead of this year. Year-round, fantastic kids who excelled at CYO and excelled at all levels. There's only so much room. And then once you're on the team, there's only so much room to play. Last year, when we played Archie and Duffy was coaching there, I think our superpower in that game was our bench. We were able to go 9 deep. And you can go 9, 10 deep at Redwood since I've been around. Certainly this year you could. Now, maybe those kids aren't scoring, but they're boxing out, they're diving on the floor, they're rebounding. They're defensively capable, which is super important. So we put them out there, and Archie, my historical look at that game, which Duffy has a better perspective on, was that we had a little bit more juice. And, of course, we had TT, the top 3 player in Marin County history, so that helps quite a bit. But there was a point in that game where we subbed in 2 kids who had played very, very limited minutes, and it was an immediate run for us. And they didn't do anything. You didn't notice them. If you watched the tape, you wouldn't know any better. But the defenders didn't pick up the cuts. The defenders didn't pick up the break. They just 15% reduction in your ability to create output, and it was the difference, it felt like. Well, sorry to cut one more thing there. Being ready. I think that's part of my job. I'm trying to learn how to be an assistant. But part of my job is making sure everyone on the bench is ready. So I'll walk down the bench and just slap them on the knees. Like, hey, bounce your feet. Bounce your feet. You should be sweating. You have to have blood flow. You can't go out there cold. Yeah.
And when you go to sub them in, do you say, like, you might just get one down and back?
I don't. Jay handles subs, so I don't. But when I talk to him, I say, you might not play tonight. You might play 15. So just be the best version of you. And I think that's part of my job as an assistant, is try to be the best assistant I can be. And I think that's what actually I relate to them on. You have a job and I have a job. I'm not your boss. I'm learning that an assistant is sort of a teammate more than a coach.
I call it being a cool uncle.
Wow. Yeah.
Funkle.
Funkle.
Yeah.
Was it be ready? What's the saying? Be ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
And that's a skill. That's a skill for a player, to be ready all the time. And just thinking, like, I've reevaluated how I coach my team based on watching KK coach last year and based on the success that her team's had and watching her play girls that I probably would have had a hard time playing. And granted, I wasn't in her practices every day, so I go off the film that I watch. But just the fact that she got buy-in from everybody, got them into games, and still won at a high clip. And I think the senior you said that didn't play much, I think she took the last dribble of the game. I think she had the ball at the end of the game, right?
Yeah, she ended our season. But I think about that, like what you're saying is, it's really important to step back and understand, like, it is just basketball and it is just high school girls sports. Like, what is it giving the number 12 kid 30 seconds? And you don't need to put them in and yank them, but say, hey, you're going in to get one rebound and then you're coming out. You're going in to help Izzy. You're going in to help Delaney. You're going in to help whoever. Like, Abby needs a 30-second break. You need to go be your best Abby right now and give her 30. And when Abby comes back in for you, like, you hype her up. That's so important. Like, I would always tell my kids, you're going to go in for maybe 10 seconds on the clock. It might feel like 2, it might feel like 2 hours, but that time you're in the game, like, just bring energy and positivity. And I had kids go in and they couldn't even catch a basketball. I think that was Bailey Brush, NorCal championship game. I saw her, I'm like, dude, just give it your best. 1 minute. Cece needs a break. She goes in the game, ball goes right through her hands, out of bounds. But instead of, like, yanking her, like, I was expecting it. She's a freshman playing in a huge game. And then she gets an awesome stop, and then she comes out, and it's like, you did exactly what you were supposed to do.
How do we feel about the kids these days and their willingness to take on that role? Because I think that's changed. I think
it's really hard.
Kids now have more things to do at their disposal, or at least they think they do. So they're not willing to commit the time. I've found less kids willing to commit the time to take on that role. And that's a challenge as a coach, being able to make that important. I think
they could be like mediocre TikTokers or mediocre e-bikers or mediocre in class. You need to convince them that they could be mediocre in basketball, and that's really awesome. Yeah. But being mediocre at basketball is hard for a lot of kids.
KK, the question I have is, as a coach, my college coach used to say misery loves company. So kind of like what Tony was saying, how do you keep that 9th, 10th, 11th player who's only going in for 30 seconds from not like those 3 at the end of the bench just complaining the whole time? How do you keep them on board for 4 months when they're only playing a minute at a time?
I have no idea.
You must be doing something right.
I don't limit them at practice. Like I've said earlier, every kid deserves an opportunity if they do what you ask. If they don't do what I ask, I tell them, you're not doing what I ask. Like, we need to fix this. Am I not being clear, or do you not want to do it? Like, what's the disconnect? And then figure it out.
You had great leadership at the top of your roster, too. I think that could
I don't know.
Motivate those hits. I mean,
I disagree.
Your best player motivated me.
It's awesome. I think CCB is like, I had one. So I think, first of all, I've talked to Tony about this. I don't think I'll ever win state again. I don't think I'm like a genius. But I think I just had such an awesome roster of kids last year. And my leader, CCB, was a JV kid. She's a solid basketball player. She's okay, but she does every sport. She is just the goofiest, most outgoing, no cool jacket, doesn't care what people think of her, plays basketball with her tongue out and giggles the entire time, but she works her face off. And that was contagious.
Well, one observation on CC, but your whole team is, as coaches, we love to talk about body language and how important that is. And she's a perfect example of a kid whose body language didn't change whether she was scoring 25 or was 0 for 15. She was just
Never.
unfazed.
Floor slapper. She's a floor slapper.
Floor slapper, played defense, did the little things, was incredible. I mean, it's funny we're talking about this. Last night, so Tony and I were commiserating about the Dodgers, Northern California podcast. We're not Dodger fans, but biggest play of the game last night. Well, there are many games, but Game 7 against the Blue Jays is the number 9 hitter on the Dodgers, who hadn't done anything, hits a home run in the bottom of the 9th or top of the 9th to tie the game, right? Like, they were overlooking him. They were getting ready to face Ohtani, the best player in the world, and the number 9 hitter hits a homer to send the game into extra innings.
A huge play at second base and threw the force out of the plate too.
So you never know. I mean, this guy wasn't even on the roster for part of the season. And like, I'm thinking about a game that I had last year at San Domenico, one of the lower kids on our roster who never played. We had injuries. She was put in the game, and I told her, all we need you to do is just move the ball. Don't turn it over. Be strong with it and move the ball and get it to our scorers. And she did that, and we ended up winning the game. And I said at the end of the game in my post-game speech, like, you don't think you did a lot? You did a ton. Just by facilitating, moving the ball from one side of the floor to the other, that helped our team. So your role doesn't have to be score 25 a game. It can be get a stop, move the ball, get a rebound, little things. And, Tom, back to where we started, where you're talking about fundamentals, playing off 2 feet, being strong with the ball, pivot, those little things. If you get buy-in top to bottom on your roster, kids doing that. KK, your team last year, everybody's coming to 2-foot jump stops and playing strong with the ball. Everybody on your team.
Well, we did it every day. Like, till we were blue in the face. They hated it. I actually texted the girls returning at MC, all of them. I think there's 7. We're in a group chat, and I said, have fun tomorrow. You guys are so lucky you don't have to do jump stop passing, monkey in the middle, and 2-on-2 passing. That's how we started every day. And it was like funny to them, but I hope Rachel does her own variation of it, but we did it every day, so that's why they did it. It's like they didn't just go out and do it to do it. We practiced that.
Well, I think there's a list of things that everybody has to be good at, and that's a team philosophy that you make decisions on roster selection and construction on. If you don't work hard, you don't make the team. If you're incapable of sitting in a stance, you don't make the team. I'm not talking about any specific team, but everybody should do these things unless you have some unique skill that allows you to stand out. But even then, it's just a point of frustration. But then beyond that, everybody has their own specific individual skills. And so I always encourage kids to write down what they're bad at. KK and I coached a team together last year. Was that the fall? The spring. And a lot of it was like me just talking, to Hakeem about whatever. And half the girls aren't listening and half are. But I think the takeaway there was go home, write down on a piece of paper, what are your 5 worst qualities? And don't do anything else until you fix those 5.
So let's give our friend Tony Butler a chance to plug his amazing business. Not a sponsor yet. But Tony, you created All Net Mindset. Our Branson team was a client, and we loved it. And this is what you do. You're right. You're helping kids approach the mental side of the game. It's so critical. Discuss, because the things that you preach, I love it. Journaling, recovering from adversity. Like, talk about it.
I started the business more as just a mechanism to help our kids, because what I found is, even though the girls that I've been coaching were having success, we were winning games, they still weren't having as much fun with it, and they weren't seeing the experience for what it really is, a lot of what KK's talking about. And I committed to coming back to the table this year with just some strategies to help these kids balance their life experience mentally, but also just empower them to have their best experience when they're playing. And so what I learned and what I'm teaching them is I've heard a lot of the buzzwords in our conversations, but just like, say, picking the things that they need to work on and focusing on that. But also, like, the human brain has a negativity bias, right? We always lean towards some negative. So it's really easy to kind of search out for the things you don't do well. And it takes a lot of hard work to practice finding the good things that you did well. And I wanted to get better at helping them see those things, because that's a life skill. It's not just a basketball skill. And I feel like a lot of girls are walking away from basketball because maybe it's, and this like ties into maybe some club stuff, but social media and the spotlight that's put on them, like you hear girls say, I don't want to guard her because I don't want to get my ankles broken on Instagram. And, that's really unfortunate because all they're thinking about is that one moment. They could go for 20 and 8, but all they're going to remember is that video that gets put out on the highlight reel of them getting their ankles broken. And I just think it's really unfortunate. So I just, the idea is to be able to give them some tools. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree and all that. It's just giving them some tools to have a better experience. And so like with the Branson girls, we talked about some visualization and seeing positivity and being able to kind of get in touch with like what they really want to get out of the experience and mistake rituals and being able to bounce back and from mistakes and not ruminate and allow that to impact the entire night of their experience. So, I don't know if they got something out of it.
The thing that I think you got the Branson girls, which I'm sure you taught them a lot, but one thing that I've recognized is that at least our girls, I didn't really have this at MC. I'm sure it's probably not as much anywhere else except for Branson, but these kids are traveling far. They leave at 6 a.m. They don't get home till 10. They're doing dance. They're doing basketball. They're doing accounting after school. They're in the finance club. They are nonstop. And what you taught them, I think, was just to take a second. It could be 3 minutes, 30 seconds, just to breathe and appreciate and figure out where you are. Be where your feet are is so important, especially for our girls. I mean, they're on the go. If we're going from practice to weights or open gym to weights and we've got a 15-minute gap, they're sitting down doing homework. It blows my mind how incredible they are as just humans.
Yeah, I mean they're overloaded, and I think that's it. That's a really important skill that we should be teaching our kids, even your own sons and daughters, and just how to decipher what's important in their life, and then kind of decide what they need to be doing when, and being okay with some stress and being okay with knowing what that means, but then navigating it to a place where they can enjoy actually just their existence. Because I see it with my own daughter. Sometimes it feels like they're not smelling the roses at all. They're just constantly one place to another. And it's hard as a basketball coach to try to get into the gym and try to say, let's have fun and have a good time, when we know the moment before they walked in, they're worried about an AP history test. And then they got to get on a bus. And then they got to get up in the morning and, it's just like, when we're trying to teach the enjoyment of basketball, that looks different than it did 20 years ago.
Tony, the gentleman I played for at Santa Rosa Junior College, his name was Tom Mitchell, and he had a PhD in psychology. And I laugh with people to this day. We never ran a play in 2 years. We never lifted a weight. We sat back in the 2-3 zone. His whole thing was the power of the mind. Yeah. I got up there and he saw, Dave, you will begin to make 3-pointers. Yeah. I'm all right, man, I guess so. I mean, and he would have us close our eyes and we'd kind of just ball at practice. Now, we had some good players, but his whole thing was he ended up being the head shrink for the Warriors and got to know Phil Jackson. And his whole thing was being positive and you will the ball into the basket when you shoot it in transition. I'm like it was just, he was a different guy, but he won games with it. And we didn't run a play for 2 years.
For the record, Phil's a listener of the pod, right, Duffy? Hi, Phil.
Yeah, hi, Phil.
Well, I appreciate that because I'm actually halfway through the first 2 episodes of season 3 right now. I'm halfway through the Kelly Starrett one and halfway through the Tasha Jackson one. And I like that you guys re-released those because Kelly's talk. I know you brought Kelly on to talk about mobility and strength training and all that, but he's actually not. He's talking about mental preparation, and so is Tasha.
Totally.
And I just, personal anecdote, when I'm comfortable and happy and prepared, I'm significantly better than when I'm nervous, tight, worried. Mm-hmm. So how do you send kids out there in high pressure situations with fear everywhere and 2,000 people in the gym and have them be loose and free and happy? And I had a side conversation with Tasha about that very same thing when KK and I were coaching. And it's not complicated. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But when you're screaming and yelling and trying to win, it's hard to take a breath and slow down and do it the right way.
So we talked about this recently, Tom. We were at dinner with some friends and we rehashed a great moment was your 8th grade CYO championship game, right? Where you had a really good team and you're playing a really good team and you're kind of the favorite going in and you're getting blitzed. You're down 20 in the first half against a team that's making everything. And I was sitting right behind the bench and I remember you, and by the way, the kids on your team at that time are now some of the best players in the MCAL. But you said, you're down 20, their kids are shell-shocked. You said, we're fine. we're winning this game. You looked at every kid in the eye and you said, we're winning this game. Relax.
Yeah, there's a few things there. I'll start with hubris and arrogance, because the reason we were down 15. It was 25-10 in a CYL game in the first quarter, which you don't win that game, obviously.
25 points in a quarter.
Yeah, we were getting kicked.
Tom's 1-3-1 trap didn't work. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's the arrogance. The arrogance was in the semifinals, we were up huge at half, and we had just put in a 1-3-1 trap those 2 weeks in practice in preparation for playoffs. In the second half against San Anselmo, I got all cocky and arrogant, and I said, let's run the 1-3-1 to prepare for the finals. And we got scouted, and they're ready for it. And so 5 straight corner threes later.
Swing it.
Chase Williams, who's an MC standout in 2 sports.
Yeah.
I think he hit all 5 corner threes.
Yeah.
And if you're going to beat a 1-3-1, you bring it up the right side, wait for the trap, chuck it to the corner, and fire away. And they got us. But yeah, that day was that. Chichi and I talk about it at shoot around that day. We said we will be losing tonight, and we will win. And whether you believe it or not, you say it. And then in that huddle, it was 2 things. It was, told you we'd be here. And I did everyone take a deep breath. I said, everyone take a deep breath together. The breathe thing, which I think Kelly or maybe Tasha said. And then I did that ridiculous, we're going to climb a mountain, Alabama kind of speech. But I'll quote Mike Saya last night, who quoted Jimmy Saya last night. He said, what's the term, Dineen? Jockeys never carry a horse across the finish line. We had Chase Hatch and Gabe. And
you had good players.
Yeah,
but all right, so on to your breathe point. KK, take us back to the state championship game. Chaotic moment. You guys were up. They go on a run. I remember watching this.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a PSA for Tony, for Tom, for Jay, for Zach, for Ed at Archie, for anybody. The kids look up to you. Like, everybody says, oh, you're so young and relatable. Like, they all look up to you. Like, they look up to you. Just from personal, like, I remember when I was in high school and I had Zach as my coach or Mike Fulton as my coach. Like, Mike Fulton is a fat old dude. And I was like,
we love you, Mike.
Idol. Like, he is my idol.
Good to see you.
Like, it wasn't that he was old or fat, like,
Yeah,
or
totally.
whatever.
Totally.
Like, he was just a legend in my eyes. My PE teacher, everybody has somebody to look up to. I don't think it matters that I'm 24 and a female.
Yeah.
Like, people look up to you. And you're leading them. So you need to lead by example.
So if you're stressed out and frantic, they're going to read that energy.
They're going to look into it. And so I told the kids, every game's the same. Like, every game's the same. Same court, same hoops, same us against them.
Yep.
And the practice before the state game, we won on Tuesday in the NorCal final, and then I gave them Wednesday off. Because at that point, we're just like, practice just hurts us. We watched film on Thursday and maybe practiced for 45 minutes. And then we played in that practice, we did some drill, some double team drill. They had a 6'3" really tall girl who's just going to pressure us and kill us. And we just freaked out. It was like all hell broke loose. For some reason, this girl really scared us. So I said, okay, we're not going to practice this. We just need to breathe right now. Like, we are fine. We've made it this far. There's no reason we can't do one more. Every game's the same. Let's all breathe. So we literally spent maybe it was 30 seconds breathing. And then in the championship game, I don't even remember what quarter it was, but we just went on a run of turnover, freak out. Like, I couldn't find, so my idea was subbing kids and giving them opportunity. I couldn't find 5 that would just settle us down. So after not finding 5, I called a timeout and I'm like, we all just need to breathe. Like, I literally made them close their eyes. A couple were laughing, a couple were like, what the hell is she doing? And a couple were seriously sitting there and breathing. So it helped 2 kids and it ended up helping the team.
I'm willing to bet that that moment of practice where things were weird and then you stopped and breathed was the moment that you prepared for that point of the game, because they experienced it in practice and you kind of warned them. So when they experienced it in the game, they were like, well, yeah, there it was. We've seen it. We've already know it's going to be there and we're still here and we're fine. Because that's like the video I showed your team, Michael Phelps, he talks about he does negative visualization. He visualizes everything in his experience, including like his suit ripping and all this weird stuff. So that when he gets out there, it's just me and the black line at the bottom of the pool and I just muscle memory, right? And I think that's kind of what you did for them without even really knowing you did it. Like, you created this panic at practice and prepared them for the panic in the game. And then they said, oh, we're ready. We got this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's credit to the kids. They listened. So.
All right, y'all, it's Dave again. Just letting you know that was part 1 of our 2-part round / rectangular table discussion. Hope you enjoyed it. We get into some more fun topics in the second part of the discussion, which we will release very soon. Once again, I want to thank our sponsors, the fabulous Encore Custom. We love you, Neil, and your business. They're awesome. And the great Jeff Skaggs and the San Domenico camps. And if there are any other sponsors out there, local businesses, people, whoever, who like what we're doing and want to support us, we are all ears. But really enjoyed this roundtable discussion, and can't wait for you to hear the second part of it coming up very soon. Thanks, y'all.
The Run TMC podcast is brought to you by Encore Custom. Encore Custom, from the field to the gym and everywhere in between. Encore Custom designs high-performance team apparel built for athletes, coaches, and active communities. Each piece is crafted with technical precision, modern fits, and customizable details that bring your team identity to life. You can shop their ready-to-wear performance gear online or in-store, or create custom designs made exclusively for your team. Visit EncoreCustom.com, that is EncoreCustom.com, or stop by their headquarters at 891 4th Street in lovely San Rafael, California, to see where performance meets design.
The Run TMC podcast is also brought to you by the Nike basketball camps at San Domenico School in lovely Sleepy Hollow, California. Director Jeff Skaggs has been bringing you the basketball camps at San Domenico School for over a quarter century, and they're back this fall for 3 select dates in November and 2 in December for ages 6 to 14 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can go to ussportscamps.com and look up San Domenico Nike basketball camps for more information. And they'll be back again next summer.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin. Marin County."